Ladies and gentlemen, I posted on my community page, ask me a question about the market that you would like to see answered in an upcoming video, and you guys obliged. You posted a bunch of questions here, and I've picked out many of them for today's video. I picked out questions about cycle theory. I've picked out questions about how long it took me to become profitable as a trader, what YouTubers I respect. I think you might be underwhelmed with that answer. How to identify good altcoins if an altcoin season is to come. Why altcoins run longer than Bitcoin during bull markets, but every time Bitcoin dumps during bear markets or during mid-cycle phases, altcoins crash. And there's an interesting answer there that's relevant to this cycle. And then a bunch of questions about altcoin season, a question about what I plan to post during the bear market that's upcoming, a question about Coinbase stock. I bring in MicroStrategy stock and how it relates to Bitcoin price action, my plans for buying that at the end of the bear market potentially. So lots of things to get into. I'll leave some timestamps down below so you can sift through the video and watch the stuff that you find interesting. Otherwise, just watch the whole thing. There's a reason I picked the questions, is because I think they are interesting. So let's get into it. Before we do so, go ahead and check out the Bitunix Exchange. It's been on the market for close to 5 years. And during that 5-year period of time, it's seen 2 bull markets. It's seen a bear market. It's never been hacked before, never had a security breach. That's the extensive track record for cryptocurrency, with a clean track record, a clean slate, no data hacks, nothing like that. So that's exceptionally good. It's a global exchange with no restrictions. You can sign up and use it from anywhere in the world. It's non-KYC. And with my referral link down below, you can get a lifetime 15% trading fee rakeback. So with my link down below, 15% off of every buy and every sell, saving you big money over the long run. So that's a great way to help the channel, and it's a great way to help yourself, quite frankly. Use that link if you're interested. It's down below. Let's get into the content. So we're just going to go from top to bottom. We'll start out with this very big question about cycles. The question essentially asks, do I believe in any other type of cycle other than the 4-year cycle? Because in analysis, a lot of people have the belief that the market moves in cycles, not just on a Bitcoin macro scale, but also on a daily scale, weekly chart, monthly chart, business cycles. There's many different types of cycles that people throw around terms for. And I think this is a great opportunity for me to clear up the reality about cycles. Right, first and foremost, the reality about cycles is this. Well, the Bitcoin 4-year cycle specifically is only useful to us because it has date range trends involved that have been stemming backwards on Bitcoin since 2012, right? Without the date range trends that underpin the cycle would mean nothing. Okay, the second point is cycles are not predictive. And this is the problem I run into when people try and do cycle analysis and try to sell cycle analysis. Cycles are not predictive. They are means of describing historical price action. They are backwards looking, not forwards looking. That's the reason why I say all the time in my videos, even though I discuss the 4-year cycle over and over again, I say it all the time. The 4-year cycle will break eventually. It can break this cycle. It just hasn't broken yet. Now, if it does seem to be breaking, we can adapt to that situation. Right, we can have a plan B, which we can jump ship onto. Relying on cycles too heavily as a predictive method is forgetting what cycles actually are. They are means of interpreting historical data. They are not real. The cycle analysis mindset is overly reductive. Okay, there are unexpected factors that occur in the world, okay, that lead to recessions. It's not all just based on cycles. You can't time everything. Yes, of course it is true that empires rise and fall. Of course it's true that stocks have bull markets and bear markets. And of course, trends develop in which governments act a certain way at certain times in reaction to certain events, and that develops what looks like predictive cycles, but those cycles are not predictive. They are merely just trends, right? And trends are trends. Trends aren't gospel. Trends aren't crystal balls. So I never look at the 4-year cycle and think, oh, I predict we're going to be seeing a top in October 2025. No. I look at the 4-year cycle and I say, that's interesting. The cycle points to a top in October 2025. So I'm going to look at October 2025 very closely. And if we see weakness there, I'll react to it. But if we don't, no worries. Smooth sailing. Let's move onwards, right? And that's the key point that I think is worth noting. You have to remember that influencers have an incentive to tell their audience information that they know they will understand. In the crypto space, the 4-year cycle is the big thing that everyone is constantly talking about. It's been that way for years. People understand cycles. They know the word. They hear it. It sounds good. It's worked historically. And if you can just reduce everything down into cycles, all of a sudden your audience understands what you're talking about all the time. but you risk losing the nuance, and the nuance is very, very important. So no, I don't really rely on cycle analysis because cycle analysis is inherently built to be predictive when cycles are not predictive by nature. They are descriptive and they should be reacted to, not used to make predictions with. Other than Whale, what other YouTubers do you respect? And second question, how long did it take you to quit your job and trade full time? So I actually don't, you might not believe this, but I don't watch crypto YouTubers. I literally do not watch crypto YouTubers at all. If someone sends me a video in my group chat, I'll watch it. Or if someone I know personally who's into cryptocurrency sends me a video and asks for my thoughts or something, I'll watch it. But I don't sit here and have an analyst that I particularly trust. I do have multiple analysts, Mega Whale Crypto included, and some people in my personal life included as well who are into markets, who I do calls with or meet up with in person. We discuss charts, we discuss the market, we bounce off ideas off each other. But I actually find that I get a lot of alternative information from my community itself, so I don't really need to go out there and watch any particular YouTuber, because a lot of you guys in the comment section constantly disagree with me, and that gives me things that gives me challenges which I can test my own analysis against. I think that a lot of the cryptocurrency space, and this is not speaking for everyone out there, but a lot of the cryptocurrency space is filled with people who want to get rid of nuance, who want to talk about things in the most simplistic way possible so that people who are watching understand it. And I think that explains quite heavily why you see absolute clowns, quite frankly, getting tons and tons of views in crypto, because they're appeasing their audiences, right? They're speaking the language that that audience wants them to speak, and I simply just refuse to do that. But I'm sure there's plenty of decent analysts on the YouTube, on YouTube. I know a few of them, but I can't say I watch anyone particularly religiously. How long did it take you to quit your job and trade full time? Well, I'll say this: from the time it took me to find out about crypto for the first time, to the time it took me to actually start trading properly. A better way to put this really is, when I started trading properly, I wasn't profitable for about 18 months. Right? I dedicated myself full time to crypto, and for about 18 months of full-time dedication or near full-time dedication, I wasn't profitable on short-term scalp trading at all, zero. Now, I made some money on investments, sure, and some swings, but short-term scalp trading is notoriously one of the most dangerous things you can do. I actually don't encourage people to short-term scalp trade really at all, unless they're taking it extremely seriously and actually treating it like a job. It's not a hobby, it's a job. Now, swing trading and investing with the macro structures, that can be something you do alongside your career, of course, because I actually don't think that takes nearly as much knowledge and emotional regulation as scalp trading. Scalp trading is probably one of the most stupid things you can do if you're a beginner, if you're a rookie. But if you really want to do it, of course, you're going to have to start somewhere. And I almost guarantee you, I'm very confident that to begin with, you will be taking quite heavy losses. You have to know when to quit, when to throw in the towel. Obviously, if you've been scalp trading for 5 years and you're still losing, right, maybe it's not working for you. But for the average person, I do think learning a bit of technical analysis is very useful because assets are where you make money, right? The reality is we don't have an income disparity problem in the world. We have a wealth disparity problem in the world, and that comes about through assets. Assets make people money, not income. And if you can, learn how to master assets, learn how to master financial markets, which is the most swift and free-flowing form of assets, you can make genuinely a lot of money. But you need to know what you're doing, because this is not a get-rich-quick kind of thing. And I think there's a lot of social media information out there on, Instagram, on YouTube, which people treat it like it's a cool Lamborghini move to Thailand type thing that you can do on the side in your laptop in a cafe in freaking Bali. But in reality, it is a job, right? And you really need to get the fundamentals down before you start slacking. So for me, it took about 18 months of full dedication before I genuinely became profitable in scalp trading, that is. In more long-term analysis, it took shorter, but I really enjoyed my time learning. Luckily, I was already in a position due to my previous business endeavors in which I could lose money. I've been doing entrepreneurial activity since I was bloody 17 years old, so that's just me. What altcoins are you looking at if altcoin season occurs? Okay, so I don't have a specific list of altcoins that I'm willing to share on this YouTube channel, but I will give you an example of the type of altcoin structures that I do like the look of, generally speaking, when it comes to picking altcoins for an altcoin season. I think that's actually more useful or more applicable than me just throwing altcoins at you. As I said, this isn't really an altcoin channel. I don't think altcoin channels. I think altcoin channels, quite frankly, are just scams, right? Most of the time, because there's very, very rare market environments in which altcoins are even worth touching, and we haven't even seen one yet. Quite frankly, we look at Bitcoin dominance, which is the gold standard for knowing when to touch altcoins. And basically, when Bitcoin dominance is dropping rapidly, that's when touching altcoins is a acceptable idea from a macro perspective. Let's see when we've seen that. We saw that in 2017, it lasted a year. We saw that in 2021, it lasted a year. And we are kind of maybe seeing it now. It's not really confirmed yet. We haven't really seen the structural breakdown properly yet. But we're talking about 2 years out of the last 8 years, or 7.5 years. So altcoins, generally speaking, from a macro scale, are not to be touched. Now, that's not to say that you can't touch them. I do, but it's really betting against the macro trends. And for me to sit here on a YouTube channel and speak to thousands of people, many of whom are rookies, and say that you should be betting against the macro trends, I think is a little bit not really in good faith. So what I will say is this: if we do see that altcoin season, which I think, by the way, is still on the table, still definitely very possible, and we'll speak about it more in an upcoming question. If we do see an altcoin season, the coins you want to be looking at are coins like coins with the structure that Peep has, right? Pepe, Peep. People always mock me for saying it wrong. I call it Peep. I don't know why. It's just an addiction that I have. Apparently it's Pepe or something like that. Peep is a coin, I'm going to call it Peep, is a coin that has stagnant structure, clear macro support, clear macro structure on the price chart. Here's a long-term weekly candle triangle formation that is forming, compressing. There's going to be a clear breakout, either to the upside or downside. It will be very easy to tell whether you should be buying or selling based on the structure on the USDT chart. And in addition to that, on the BTC pair. This is what people don't look at. They really should. This is what matters, okay? How has your altcoin been performing against Bitcoin? If it's not performing well against Bitcoin, it's not worth touching. Okay, we have to remember that Bitcoin has been the dominant force in the market. And so most altcoins on the BTC pair are going down, right? They're all at all-time lows. They're doing horribly. But Peep has fortunately remained relatively stagnant, right? It's got a macro support zone, something like this. I don't know why that's so green, but it's got something like that on macro support. The price chart, again, has a clear structure in which you'll know exactly if you should be buying or de-risking. And there seems to be intense compression on both the BTC pair and on the USDT pair, something like this on both. And so again, it will be very clear when you should be buying and selling. These are the coins you need to be looking at. But rather than coins, like there's a coin, I'll bring it up for example. Aave is a coin that I was originally looking at quite a while ago. But the problem with Aave now is that Aave doesn't have as clear structure as something like Peep does. Aave is already in the sky. And there's no real, there's no triangle here. There's no wedge here. There's nothing really that you can look at to pinpoint exactly when you should be buying and selling. You just kind of have to ride the wave, which rhymes with Aave. I don't like that. I like clear structures, and I like clear structures on both the BTC pair and on the USDT pair. And I think many analysts could do a lot better with their altcoin analysis if they focused more on the BTC pair, because that's really telling you how an altcoin is doing fundamentally. The USDT pair is manipulated by token releases, and fundamentally, if your altcoin's up 30% in the last year, but Bitcoin's up 70% in the last year, your altcoin's actually not doing well at all. It just looks like it might be. So the BTC pair cuts through all that nonsense. So clear structure on the USDT pair and on the BTC pair, and additionally, a BTC pair that has been performing at least neutrally and ideally positively, they're hard to find now though, against Bitcoin. Those are the kind of altcoins that I'd be interested in if there is an altcoin season, which again, I think is still on the table, because those are altcoins that have actually shown genuine resilience against an unfavorable market environment. How have altcoins in the past ran longer than Bitcoin, but every time Bitcoin dumps, altcoins dump harder? And again, this is going into the difference between a Bitcoin season and an altcoin season, right? In a Bitcoin season, which is the vast majority of time in cryptocurrency, Bitcoin is the leader of the market. And anything Bitcoin does, generally speaking, altcoins mirror. And not only that, they mirror more aggressively because altcoins are of a lower market cap, right? So it takes less money to move an altcoin. So if Bitcoin moves up 5%, they might move up 10%. If Bitcoin moves down 5%, they might move down 20%, right? But when you flip into an altcoin season, which is when historically altcoins have run longer than Bitcoin. So for example, we look at the Ethereum chart here in blue overlaid with the Bitcoin chart. What we see is that in 2017, Ethereum ran an extra month, okay, and altcoins did as well. Not only that, but Ethereum actually went upwards from 1,100 to 1,400. I think it was a bit more than that actually if we looked at it properly. It went up like 40% after Bitcoin had topped. And in 2021, the same deal in the first half of the cycle, right? Bitcoin topped out back here in April, and Ethereum kept running until May. Not only that, but it went upwards from all the way from 2,200 all the way upwards to 4,000, right? So it doubled almost. And I think it did the same in 2017 if I was looking at that data correctly, by the way, after Bitcoin had topped. So historically speaking, what we see actually is during an altcoin season, altcoins run further and longer than Bitcoin. But that's because it's flipped into an altcoin season. The hype had already been discovered in the market, right? And people were still in denial of the fact that Bitcoin was dropping. Now, when Bitcoin, and this is really a clean way to look at it, when Bitcoin actually sees in these cycles the macro breakdown, when Bitcoin actually goes from the support zone and breaks down below it, that's when Ethereum stops running. It's not like there's a trend that, oh, Ethereum keeps running a month after Bitcoin. It's like, no, Ethereum keeps running until Bitcoin actually properly breaks down from structural support. And then people who are buying altcoins and Ethereum wake up to the fact that it's over, and then they sell, right? So when Bitcoin's hovering around the all-time high but not really doing much, and Ethereum and altcoins are running still, right? People aren't aware that the market is over yet. When Bitcoin actually crashes, that's when they wake up and realize, oh shit, it's the end. So in most market environments, yeah, altcoins just go down stronger than Bitcoin when Bitcoin drops. But in altcoin seasons specifically, people are so caught up in hype that generally speaking, Bitcoin kind of gets put to the wayside. And, until Bitcoin actually starts crashing properly, people don't even look at Bitcoin. They're looking mainly at altcoins and Ethereum. They forget about Bitcoin. And then when Bitcoin actually starts crashing, they wake up and they realize, oh, I need to get out. Now, the key thing there is you need to see the hype first. And so far, we haven't seen any real hype. So that's a little bit concerning, but we still have a little bit of time. But yeah, a bit concerning. And we have a bunch of questions from Truth to Champ. He's dropped in 14 different questions, so I'll pick out a few of them. Number one, why is the fact that there are more altcoins a contributing reason to altcoin season not occurring yet? The key point there is it's a contributing reason. In a video a few days ago, I said one of the reasons that altcoin season hadn't occurred yet is because there are vastly more altcoins than there were in previous cycles. As tracked by CoinMarketCap in 2021, which is our last altcoin season, there are about 20,000 altcoins. Now there's about 22 million, okay? And yeah, there's a little bit of disparity there between what CoinMarketCap tracks, but currently we're seeing 63,000 altcoins being created per day, when in 2021, we were seeing, a couple. It's because more people can create altcoins now, and that's mainly, a lot of it's due to Solana, by the way, the Solana network having extremely easy ways of creating tokens. But yeah, I actually don't think that's the main reason. And I said in the video, I didn't think that was the main reason. I think the main reason really is what Bitcoin is doing. Bitcoin is not moving in a way that is conducive to altcoin hype. Altcoin hype comes about when Bitcoin moves very aggressively to the upside. We haven't seen that this cycle. We've seen Bitcoin step upwards and cool off for 9 months, step upwards, cool off for 8 months, step upwards, cool off for 6 months. Those big cool offs kill any sliver of hype the market may have had. The market is very mature now. We have ETFs, we have all this stuff, and that's actually not conducive to hype at all. It's hype when it's on the way, it's hype when people are talking about ETFs coming, but when it's in reality, it doesn't, it just cools everything down. So I think that's the main reason, but I think also it is, ridiculous to, not that you're doing this, but it is ridiculous to act like this is not a reason. Of course it is. 63,000 altcoins per day being created is a reason, even if one of those altcoins per day will attract any sort of money that is of significance. That's 365 new coins per year that are dragging money away from the rest of the altcoin market. Yeah, it's not a massive deal because ideally more money is coming into the altcoin market, but what we're seeing is more money not really coming into the altcoin market because this, in combined with the fact that Bitcoin is not acting in a way that's conducive to altcoin hype, means the altcoin market hasn't even broken 2021 all-time highs yet, right? So it's all kind of connected. I would say it's a more minor reason. I'd say the major reason is the way Bitcoin's been moving. Just not being conducive to altcoin hype, but it certainly is a reason. You don't need to assume that all 60,000 of those altcoins are getting investment. They're not. Maybe 100 of them are getting anything more than 100,000 market cap. But again, even if one of them out of 63,000 gets anything significant, that's dragging money away from all other altcoins. And you have to remember, when it comes to altcoins, hype leads to hype leads to hype, right? It's a snowball effect. If a coin 10x's overnight, that leads to more people buying the coin. If the coin only 2x's overnight because the money's being dragged elsewhere, it's a lot less hype in the altcoin market. It's a lot less media headlines. There's a lot less Twitter posts. It's a lot less pump and dump schemes which drag attention to crypto. You have to take these things into consideration. As for your question 2, I'd recommend you go ahead and check out yesterday's video. I did a full video on this one right here, I believe. This one right here 2 days ago, about what constitutes a 4-year cycle top and what constitutes a break of the cycle. My overarching opinion is that a clean cycle would probably top out before early November. A bit of a messy cycle would be in November, and anything past November, I think we'd actually start to consider it's a deviation or a break, because a break is a strong word. There's no clean cutoff for the 4-year cycle that we can clearly identify as, oh, if it tops out past this date, it breaks. But what we can say is that if it tops out beyond something like mid-November, the trends lose predictive utility to us, right? We can't use the trends that well anymore in future cycles. They become too distorted and too wide, and that's not what we want to see. So it's more about how useful is the 4-year cycle to us. Well, if we want that utility to remain, we'd have to be seeing a top in a relatively coherent time frame. In my view, that's before early November. But yeah, we can hypothetically top out in December and it still be a 4-year cycle top. It would just be very damaging to the trends within the cycle, which are the only thing that matter to us, by the way, as analysts. The cycle is nothing without the trends it gives us. But I did a full video with all the context and details. That was an underwhelming answer. I think this one here 2 days ago. Why do I refuse to cover altcoins and only cover Bitcoin? Well, I cover the altcoin market generally. Like, I do videos about altcoin season and Bitcoin season. I do them relatively regularly. I try to do at least one a week or one every 10 days or so. There's one right there 2 weeks ago. There's another one over here. So I do cover the altcoin market, but the reason I don't cover specific altcoins is because I really don't have much to say about specific altcoins. The altcoin analysis is very rudimentary to me. It's just like, oh, there's support here, there's resistance here. Okay, bye. It's like, it would be like a 4-minute video. And I don't see how that helps my audience, especially considering the fact, as I mentioned before, that a lot of my audience, a lot of all crypto audiences, quite frankly, just are not that proficient in technical analysis, which is one of the reasons why they're watching the videos. And so for me to sit here in a Bitcoin season and talk about altcoins every day gives the impression that they should be buying altcoins. And I think it's damaging, because it could get a lot of people wrecked. It could make people buy coins that they shouldn't be buying, and buy coins that, aren't consistently performing with the current macro trends. I think that, in an altcoin season, I'd consider doing it, because that's when I think it's justifiable to actually be buying altcoins. But in terms of Bitcoin season, which is where the vast majority of the market environment generally is, yeah, it's like, why am I talking about altcoins? Well, I'm doing it for clicks. I don't care about altcoins. They don't mean anything to me. I use them for scalp trades. I don't think altcoins have much utility at all, generally speaking. Very few of them do. Altcoins, in my view, are kind of opportunistic investments. And 99% of altcoins that now will not be around in 10 years. And that's been the case 10 years ago. So, every cycle we get a new wave of altcoins that are popular, and then every cycle most of them die. So I don't think it's in good faith, really, to sit here and make altcoin videos every day like a lot of YouTubers do. I really don't. Unless it's an altcoin season. That's a different story. If it's an altcoin season, yeah, I can see why people do it. But I try to give people analysis that is based on how the market is actually moving, right? If the market is favoring Bitcoin or favoring Ethereum, that's what I'm going to discuss. If it's favoring altcoins, I'll discuss that. The problem is we just haven't seen the market favor altcoins on any real scale for a long time now. What do I plan on posting during the bear market? A lot of Bitcoin content. I think this is going to be very interesting. If the cycle breaks here, there will be a lot to discuss in terms of mapping out future trends. If the cycle holds, there will be a lot of people who need to recognize that the cycle will probably hold into the bear market as well, like they did last cycle. So I'll continue posting Bitcoin videos. I'm also going to be branching out, I assume, into more broad crypto content, not really altcoin spotlight videos, but more maybe fundamental stuff, maybe a bit of news related stuff, maybe a bit of investment strategy related stuff. I've done a lot of this stuff in the past during the last bear market, and I'll probably continue doing it again. But I think many people have the impression that bear markets are boring. No, not true at all. Bear markets are very exciting. It's not like you can't touch crypto during a bear market. You can. Short positions are plentiful, dead cat balances are plentiful, and there's always people during a bear market who are screaming that, oh, it's going to bottom out here, it's going to return to all-time highs, and it's really stimulating actually to engage in those arguments. 2022 was one of my favorite times in crypto because I was very confident that we were going downwards until November 2022, which is when we ended up bottoming, and I was basically battling with many people in the comment section and on YouTube. I got into some YouTube beefs there who thought otherwise. It was really, really fun. So I actually don't mind bear markets at all. The part of the cycle that I don't like is the middle part of the cycle, right? So I really enjoyed the bear market in 2018. It was really fun. I really enjoyed the bull market, of course, in 2021. I really enjoyed the bear market in 2022. What I didn't like was 2023. That was boring because it was mostly just sideways consolidation and waiting around for the cycle to really get started off. So I'm not scared of the bear market. I'm scared of the boring intermediate part that might come if the cycle holds in 2027. And just a quick one to finish it off, analyzing Coinbase stock and analyzing the Bitcoin price, what do you see in terms of pros and cons? There is a correlation between Coinbase and Bitcoin, but there is an even stronger correlation between the MicroStrategy stock and Bitcoin. And I think there's massive opportunities in touching MicroStrategy at the end of bear markets instead of Bitcoin. Yes, you're taking the added risk of it being a company that is very much related to Michael Saylor, and if he does something wrong or if the company collapses, there could be big problems there. But if you're willing to take on that added risk, at a Bitcoin bear market bottom, for example, maybe buying MicroStrategy would be a decent idea because MicroStrategy mimics the Bitcoin price action virtually one-to-one and actually dramatically outperforms it. Now, you don't want to be touching it at the brink of a Bitcoin bear market because it obviously massively outperforms the Bitcoin losses as well. So at the end of the bear market and as we start moving upwards again in whatever format that takes, I'll definitely be interested in MicroStrategy and taking some risk there. So that's more interesting to me than Coinbase stock. But guys, that's the video. I answered a bunch of questions there. I hope you found them at least somewhat useful. Maybe some of them you did, some of them you didn't. That's the point of the Q&A. So I like hearing from you guys. Let me know what you thought down below. I appreciate you. Sorry if it was a bit monotone today. It's very late here at night, but I thought I'd get a video out anyway because we've got some short-term stuff to discuss tomorrow and I wanted to get this Q&A done. You never know what can happen given how important the month of October is for the cycle, so I don't want to waste any time. Thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate it. Go ahead and check out the Bitunix Exchange. It's a global exchange. It's non-KYC. It's never had a security breach ever, and it's been on the market for 4 years, going on 5 years now. So that's an exceptionally good track record. Very clean, very good that it's global as well. Very rare these days. And if you use my link down below to sign up, you'll get a 15% lifetime trading fee discount. So it's a lifetime discount on every single buy and every single sell you make on the exchange exclusively with my referral link. Use that link to sign up. I appreciate it. It's the best way to help the channel. It's a pretty good way to help yourself as well, quite frankly. So use that if you're interested. Thank you, guys.